I'm Taro Koki. We're in Cypress, California at Toprank Vehicle Imports. We're talking to Dustin Williams today, and he's going to tell us how to drive your dream Nissan Skyline GT-R in Japan. First class!
Hey, what's up guys? My name is Dustin Williams and today we are in Los Angeles, California driving an R34 GT-R. Toprank Importers was kind enough to lend us this car for the day, and in today's video I'm going to be explaining to you guys one of the biggest questions that I get asked. How do I actually rent one of these in Japan and drive around? So today we're going to go step by step on how exactly to do that. Step one in figuring out how to drive a JDM car in Japan is obviously picking the cars that you want to drive and where exactly in Japan you want to go. So once you figure all of that out, then you'll start looking into where you can actually rent these cars. For me personally, I would look over at Toprank Importers. They can help you find somewhere specifically in Japan to rent something like this. So after you figure out all of that, there are a couple of things that you're gonna need and that some people don't really think about. Number one being you're gonna need an international driver's license. In order to drive in a different country, your US license won't work. So the easiest way to do this is to go to your local AAA or DMV and go sign up for one. It's super easy, takes about an hour, and you're set and ready to go after all of that. Once you have your international driver's license, you're gonna wanna get insurance. Insurance is very important because when you're over there, you don't want to rent a car, have something happen to it, and then you're on the line for something going wrong. So I would head over to Toprank Importers. They can help you out and source insurance that will work for you on whatever you want to do while you're over there driving. So once you have all those steps knocked out and your licensing and insurance figured out, you're going to hop on the plane, land in Tokyo, and then want to go pick up your car. Well, once you pick up your car, there are a couple of things to know before you actually start driving around. Number one being there are toll roads. Now, driving in Japan is pretty expensive and toll roads are very frequent. So you're either going to want to set up a toll account or you're going to want to carry lots of cash with you so that you can get through the toll roads. Next up are the gas stations. Gas stations are a little bit harder to find in Japan and gas is a little bit more expensive. So if you want to go on a road trip or take a long drive in Japan, make sure to map out gas stations in your area and save up enough cash to be able to pay for gas while you're out there. For me personally, touring in Japan is the most fun that I've ever had. A couple of the places that I would like to go when I'm in Japan is number one, Daikoku-futo. That is a parking area that's one of the most iconic locations for car meets out in Japan. The local racers go there, local tuning guys go there, and pretty much every night, even during the week, it's a massive car show with some of the cleanest cars in Japan. So if you're looking for some kind of car show or JDM car scene, Daikoku-futo is definitely a good option. Next up, if you're looking for some kind of spirited drive or long road trip, one of my favorite places that I've ever been has been Hakone. Hakone is a legendary turnpike freeway out in Japan where you can go do toge style spirited driving. And at the top of the mountain, there's actually a little restaurant that you can eat at, have a nice Japanese lunch or dinner, see Mount Fuji and watch the sunset. It's a very, very cool experience and the drive is unforgettable. I was fortunate enough to be able to buy a car out in Japan and drive it for the first time ever in a completely different country. And coming from the US, driving here every single day and then going over there and trying to figure out how to drive a different country on the wrong side of the road, it's completely mind-blowing. But it was one of the coolest experiences I ever got. So I was able to buy and drive an R34 GT-R in Japan, and for my first time ever get to actually tour the car to some iconic spots out in Japan. So initially when you get in the car and you start driving, you just feel so awkward. You're on the complete opposite side of the road. You don't know which way to turn when you're making your left-hand turns, your right-hand turns. It's definitely a completely different experience getting to drive out there, but it's completely worth it. While we were in Japan, we did so many different fun things, you know, from driving in the city, getting to see all the neon lights and the huge buildings, from, you know, going on the beach and getting to see Japanese surfers and Mount Fuji overlooking the ocean. And there's thousands of people everywhere, and, you know, when you're in a GT-R, people are always looking, and even the Japanese are like respectful of the GT-Rs as well, because they know it's such an iconic car for all car guys. So definitely a couple of my favorite driving experiences while I was over there. Coming back home is like, for me at least, it's just, I have that want to still be there, because it's such a, when you're coming from the US and you have a first time experience in somewhere like Japan, it just pops in Japan. So that's one thing that I miss the most, and like takeaway is definitely just like the moments there are very, very special. If you're looking to go to Japan and you want a tour, I encourage you to get your car, especially if you're a car guy. Get that JDM car and, you know, map out a couple of places that you've always wanted to go and just take the car and go. Figure it out as you go, because that's the fun part, is not knowing, you know, because when you don't expect something and you like figure it out, like my first time parking in a parking structure in Japan, like that was accomplishing, you know, like, yeah, I just parked a car, but like you figured it out on your own, like a parking structure, and it's so different. So like the experience is not only getting to drive, but figuring out streets on your own, figuring out parking, and all the little things is just add-ons to the entire experience of driving in Japan. I'm a GT-R guy. I love GT-Rs. Ever since I was a kid, the Skyline GT-R has always been my dream car, specifically the R34. And now I'm fortunate enough, you know, I was able to get an R32 in America, but my ultimate dream was to actually have an R34 in Japan and be able to have that real experience of, you know, getting to drive it in Japan, but also getting to build it in Japan. So getting to see the heritage of the GT-R being, you know, the monster that it is, it was always just a car that I kept close to home in my passion, you know. So once I had that experience of like going to Japan, picking up that car and actually driving it, it was just mind-blowing. And like from then, like my experiences have just like started to roll into driving, you know, iconic locations where like the Japanese night scene street racers go to, and it's like everything that you see and that you hear about in Japan that you want to know is all real. Like your thoughts of how Japan car culture is completely real and even better than you can imagine. So having that full GT-R experience in Japan is just probably the most special thing I've ever done. If you guys have any more questions, be sure to head over to Toprank Importers. They can help you out with anything you need and probably give you a little bit more information than what you saw in this video. Once you guys have everything set and ready to go, I hope to see you all driving in Japan.